Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day, depending on when you are watching these broadcasts. Welcome to day 160 of Cover to Cover. My name is Shogo, and I'm glad to be here to learn together the Word of God. Um, I'll be getting started shortly. I'll just play the intro. But before the intro, I would like to encourage you to share this broadcast, so you can share it on your social media with your friends and relatives, and share it as much as you can. And I'll play the intro now, and we'll be back shortly. 1 second. Okay.
Took my pain away, and then you gave me joy. You're my peace, my melody in the center of the storm. You gave me a brand new song to sing to you. That's why I will lift up my voice to sing.
Welcome back. Yes, always a joy to be together with people of God to share the word of God, the never-ending, always new new insights in the word of God. Let's get started. We're starting with Job 29, 30, and 31 today. We'll play the from the Bible here. 1 second. And
Chapter 29. When God was still by my side. Job now resumed his response. Oh, how I long for the good old days, when God took such very good care of me. He always held the lamp before me, and I walked through the dark by its...
Sorry, bear with me. We didn't pray. Father, Lord, even as we go into your word, Lord, please go with us, Lord. Open our eyes of understanding, Lord. Please let your will be done, Lord. We know without you, our gathering will be in vain, and that's why we're starting with you, Lord. Please help us. Have your way and open our eyes of understanding. Thank you, Lord, for answering our prayers. In Jesus' name, amen. Yeah, I almost forgot that.
Light. Oh, how I miss those golden years when God's friendship graced my home. When the Mighty One was still by my side and my children were all around me. When everything was going my way and nothing seemed too difficult. When I walked downtown and sat with my friends in the public square, young and old greeted me with respect. I was honored by everyone in town. When I spoke, everyone listened. They hung on my every word. People who knew me spoke well of me. My reputation went ahead of me. I was known for helping people in trouble and standing up for those who were down on their luck. The dying blessed me, and the bereaved were cheered by my visits. All my dealings with people were good. I was known for being fair to everyone I met. I was eyes to the blind and feet to the lame, father to the needy, and champion of abused aliens. I grabbed street thieves by the scruff of the neck and made them give back what they'd stolen. I thought, I'll die peacefully in my own bed, grateful for a long and full life. A life deep-rooted and well-watered, a life limber and dew-fresh, my soul suffused with glory, and my body robust until the day I die. Men and women listened when I spoke, hung expectantly on my every word. After I spoke, they'd be quiet, taking it all in. They welcomed my counsel like spring rain, drinking it all in. When I smiled at them, they could hardly believe it. Their faces lit up. Their troubles took wing. I was their leader, establishing the mood and setting the pace by which they lived. Where I led, they followed.
That was the Message Bible, by the way. That was a Message Bible, and It's interesting. The Job recounting the good old days. Isn't that what we all do? I remember those days. Was it the popular song that we sing? Uh, by the rivers of by the rivers of Babylon. Yeah, when we remember Zion, you know, um, it's really amazing to, you know, and sometimes we get lost in the past and forget the fact that, you know, the process that we're in is only preparing us for the greater, the greater future. You know, I remember at one point in um, one stage in my education life, I got to a point where normally before I don't even study. I would just exam comes, you pass, and then you go to the point where wow, even when you study, you still you still struggle like to understand what you are doing, like to have an understanding. And I used to go back like wow, I wish things were this, the way before when I didn't, and when those days, excuse me, when I didn't study, I would still do so well. Like it was like magic. Like you didn't study and you're still doing so well. Now things got so hard now. Like you study and you still couldn't do so well. I was like myself, what's going on? I wish for those old days. I wish for those good olden, those golden good sorry, those golden good old days. That's a bit tongue twisting. But yeah, it's really, you know, it's something that we all do. Job here was really just taking account of those days when things were, good. And some of the things that we seem to forget is that some transition to take place. It's not, in fact, if I can say, in most cases, transitions that would take place takes a lot. It takes a lot. It takes a lot. That's the time God revealed something to me, and God told me like, I'm going through a transition now. And, I'm like, in some areas of my life, right? I'm going through a transition. I'm like, wow, it's good to hear. Thank you, Lord. But, sometimes you just wish that transition doesn't even happen because, I mean, what it takes to go through those transition, the amount of, how do I say it now? The level of pain that one will go through, right now it's like you are walking and you're asking yourself, where's the result? It doesn't even look like you're walking at all. You walk, and you're like, where is it? And God reminded me that, yeah, you are going through this transition, you are investing in this, you are investing in that. And like, oh, okay, it makes sense now. But that's what I want to tell somebody here today, like, and investment comes in different facets or different ways, So while you are investing in yourself, you are investing in your future. Some people have to go back to school to experience this transition. Some people have to do something that they are not comfortable doing, And you can imagine sometimes, for example, the person who has to go back to school, who is, maybe they haven't gone to school in like 5 years or sitting in a class in 5 years. They go to class, first of all, you're in a class with people that, you can even give back to. And then you think like, oh, it's the same thing, 20 years ago when I was in school, it's easy. Now you're like, oh, wow, it's not easy anymore. There are so many, 20 years ago when you were in school, what's it called? You are a single person, everything was, but now you have family, you have this, you have work. So it's not easy like you think. And if you can liken that to Job, it's almost like Job is going through a test. Like God took Job back to school in his own case. He went back to school, like, okay, and all the things he was experiencing were just tests and exams. But one key thing too is like we can see into the life of Job based on this what he was saying here. We can see what his life looked like before this. I mean, the beginning chapter, like in chapter 1, we saw too what his life looks like. But we can also see again, you know, based on what he was saying, you know, um, he said, "How I long for the good old days, when God took such very good care of me." As if God is not taking care of you now. That's what, like I said, that's what we all say anyway, you know. And he said, how I miss those golden years when God's friendship graced my home, when the mighty one was still by my side and my children were all around me, and when everything was going my way and nothing seemed too difficult. Don't we all want that every day of our life? Nothing is difficult. Don't you all want that? I know I want that. Left to me. Nothing is hard. Just glide through life. Wouldn't that be nice? But that's not, I don't believe God intends for us to live a life without any challenge. And when I say challenge, I'm saying it in the sense that a life of challenge, in the sense of a life that is going to experience some, amazing things. And it just can't be like, oh, only do the things that are easy. God will have to place, want us to live a life where we experience some difficult situations, not necessarily because of what we did. I mean, Jesus now, when he was on earth, he didn't die because of what he did, or what he did wrong. He died because of a very important purpose. And that's what God wants us to, want us to live our life, not just because, oh, I'm not a troublemaker. I'm just doing what I need to do. I'm just doing everything. Oh, I'm just thinking, oh, because of that, no trouble, no challenges, not this. No. Because those challenges, they took us to a new level, whether knowingly or unknowingly. Anyway, and then you talk about, I like our message, we're like, when I walk downtown and sat with my friends in the public square, downtown, I'm like, oh, wow, okay. Young and old greeted me with respect. So he was a man of honor, honored by everyone in town. When I spoke, everyone listened. They hung on my every word. People who knew me spoke well of me. My reputation went ahead of me. So we can see from what he was saying that Job was somebody, a highly regarded man. He's, how can I liken him these days? He's like, in different societies, we know some people that will say something. I mean, okay, yeah, even, Elon Musk. Elon Musk will say something now, and sometimes stock market will crash because of what he says. Elon Musk will say something, sometimes, stock market will go up just because of him saying this. You can imagine. So, I mean, so Job was a man who was, and his reputation went ahead of him, and I don't know, who we all, people we all know, like when they speak, that was what Job was, Job, that's how we liken Job to in his own day, based on what he was saying here. He says, the dying blessed me, the bereaved are cheered by my visits, all my dealings with people were good. I was known for being fair to everyone I met. I was eyes to the blind and feet to the lame. So he was charitable as well. He was charitable as well. He was known for being fair, father to the needy and champion of abused clients, aliens. I grabbed street thieves by the scruff of the neck and made them give back what they've stolen. I thought I'll die peacefully in my own bed, grateful for a long and full life. It's getting to a different phase there. But you can see through the life of Job that he was a very significant man in the society in those days, not just any ordinary man. And that connects with, because in chapter 1, we know that he was blessed. He has so many, things that depict somebody who is wealthy. He depicted that, and he was confirming that right now. what he did, how he, things like that. And then, um, and then his goal, basically, he said, I thought I'll die peacefully in my own bed, grateful for a long and full life, a life deep rooted and well watered, a life limber and dew fresh. My soul soaked through with glory, and my body robust until the day I die. You know, what happened here is where we all miss it as well at times. And I'm going to use an example, and please, I'm not endorsing anybody. I'm not saying whether somebody is here from God or not, but I'm going to use that example because when God laid it in my heart, I'm like, interesting. And I even asked the question too when I saw what happened. Some of us might know what's going on right now in the Nigerian election. There was a man of God called Pastor Bakari. He declared it that he's going to be the 16th president of Nigeria. That is the next election. He declared it. And, he went through the process. He applied for the nomination form. But guess what? When the the primaries were conducted this week, he had 0 votes in terms of delegates. 0. And right now it's all everywhere on the internet. Oh, this man, he said this. Can you imagine? He prophesied he's going to be the next president, this and that. And one thing God told me, I put it on somebody's, I asked somebody a question. God said, election has not even started. It's not even 2023 yet. And like I said, I'm not trying to say whether you hear from God or whether it's, or let's see what will happen. But for me, we jump at conclusion too quickly. Human beings. So Job here, what he was saying, he said, oh, I thought I'll die. He was talking as if he has already died and he didn't die peacefully. And he didn't live a life, a full life, he didn't, a life like all those things described. He was talking as if that's, but based on the circumstances around the situation, it looked like he wasn't going to die peacefully. I can imagine now, Job probably peeping now. Maybe he will see a sighting of what is going on now. The last, let's say, assuming the last 10 years. How many people have used Job to preach in their sermon? How many people have, have identified with Job like, yes, Job, that man, yes, he's an inspiration to me. Just the last, I don't want to go the last 100 years, the last 10 years. But sometimes we kind of we talk based on what we see, based on situations around us, based on what things look, I had to do an exercise yesterday. Actually, I don't want to jump too much, but when I was praying and I was reading chapter 31, I had to do an exercise because everything around me, everything around me was just like, this is not working, that is not working, this thing, everything is. So I have to bring bring something. And I started saying what I see, and I was drawing the kind of future that God asked for me. I said, like, I see this, I see that, I see this, I see that, because I just like, if I keep myself on this, oh, this is not working, that's not working, the more I go down that lane, the more I keep, I keep declaring, negative on myself. So I know that I had to get myself out of, So I started declaring, yeah, I see this. And I was writing it down. I had a long list of things I see. In fact, I will make it, like an architect, an architect, when they are designing a house, they would do the exterior. So me too, I had, okay, exterior, what do I see? Interior, what do I, like, silly, I'm not done with it, but it's just something I'm trying to encourage us, like, let us not jump to conclusion based on what we see. Even one of the worst case scenarios, so to say, when Elisha and Elijah, part of the belief is that Elisha asked Elijah for a double portion of this anointing, of Elijah. Elijah had 7 major miracles. By the time Elisha died, he had 13 major miracles. So what's the big deal? 7 and 13. Like, he had, he was close, whatever, But the 14th miracle happened when a dying soldier was placed on the corpse of Elisha, on the skeleton of Elisha, and the corpse jumped up, was healed by the corpse, and that makes it 14. What? That is the God that we serve. Please, if nothing today, let us not speak based on what is going on around us, even when it's positive. I mean, by what is positive is like things around you now can be at +3 now, and it looks like, you are the bomb, you are the best in the land. Nobody is even close to you. Start speaking of yourself based on level 10. That's what I'm saying. Because a lot of time, like, oh yeah, when things are negative, speak positive things. But I'm saying now that even when things are positive, speak of higher things. Don't just leave yourself. I learned something a long time ago, and that's what I do. When when our business, when we started acquiring assets, each time we buy a new asset, I don't know. It's just something. It's not something I planned for, but as God laid in my heart, I just do it. Once I buy asset, the documentation, everything, the congratulations on the acquiring of this asset, this and that, and then I'll respond like, oh, yeah, thank you for helping us, this and that. I want to always do is like, I tell them like, I will be back shortly to get more. And sometimes I think like, am I crazy? Why am I, this one that we have here, maybe it will last for the next 10 years. Why am I talking about getting more? But I know it wasn't me. And each time I said that, a month after, when I didn't even plan for it, it will, we are back again, getting more assets. So please, let's not speak what's going on based on what we see around us. We can always speak of higher things, And then do talk about, men and women listen to him, they listen to his counsel, like, like rain, like, when he smiled at them, they could hardly believe it. So it's like, we all know those times when somebody you respect smile at you, and you're like, wow, they just smile at me. I think that was me. Wow, whatever, we capture that because this and that. And for me, one of the things I pray about as well is that, God, please let me do something that will make you smile today. Because I honor God, I respect God. I know that, whatever I do, no matter how good it is, the most important is that God smiles. And when God can smile at what I do, I know everything else is covered. My family is covered, my business is covered, my ministry is covered. Everything that concerns me is covered. When God can smile. So they was also depicting how much respect they have for him. Even when he smiles at them, they could hardly believe it because it's he's not a common man. He wasn't a common man, And then he was the leader. It was saying that I was a leader, establishing the mood and setting the pace by which they lived. Where I led, they followed. So we saw there in this passage an aspect into Job's life. And he was reminiscing basically about the good old days. And please, I forgot this verse now. But one thing I know is like, the path of the righteous, it only shines brighter and brighter. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care whether you had $1 trillion yesterday and today, you couldn't hold a cent to your name. If you are righteous, your path is shining brighter and brighter. It is shining brighter and brighter. We'll go into some comments and then continue with the rest of the passages. Bro, Anthony says, hello, all. Welcome, sir. Hello to you, too. Tim Nebzipa says, praise God for another day. Yes, we thank God for another day to land at his feet. Definitely, sir. Ma. Then Igbokwe Fidelia. Hello. Wow, that's a new name. I think bro Anthony, I suspect some connection there. Then Bro Anthony says, and verses 1 to 10, Job reminisces over all the blessings that he used to have, and he wishes that that was still the case with him. Exactly. You know, don't we all want to be at that perfect scenario? You know, but the thing that we don't know is that those things that we think are the perfect scenarios, God has a better plan than those things. Only if you can go through the current the current scenario, you know, and learn from it and grow and go through it. It was Paul that says, I keep forgetting a lot of these verses today. Like it says that the for our current situation cannot be compared, you know, cannot be compared to the glory to be revealed. Something like that, you know. I'm kind of paraphrasing now, but the first time I got hold of that passage, when I really got hold of it, hey, my head was going like, hey, you know, so there is glory in me that is to be revealed, that is bigger than all the things I thought. You know, when you have a mountain of issues that you are dealing with, but there's glory within you that 100 times, you know, supersede those mountains. So, you know, don't let me go in there. Let me get started. But Brantley says, Atigbokwe Fidelia, hello, mommy. Hello, mommy. Welcome. Wow. Good to have you, ma. Good to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm not sure if it's your first time, ma, but you're definitely welcome, and it's a privilege to have you in our gathering today. Then Teresa says, is that your mom? And Brandon says, yes. Oh wow. Great. Then Brandon says, Job was walking a fine line between bragging about past accomplishments and recalling good deeds in order to answer the charges against him. Bragging about past accomplishments and recalling good deeds in order to answer the charges against him. Yeah, it's really interesting, you know. It's almost like sometimes, you know, when some things are, you know, some of these things too, I think part of the way I say it is like, it's almost like I need to say these things because sometimes somebody who's seen Job at that point in time will probably think like, oh, this guy, he's never had anything to his name, not knowing that, you know, maybe some months or some years ago, you know, basically what has happened in a short matter of time, anybody coming would probably not think that, you know. So he himself might be doubting himself, like, wait a minute, was that really me? Was that? So you have to kind of recount those things, like, yeah, that was me. That when I speak a word, everybody, you know. So I think that's part of it as well. And then Brandon says, Job's one weakness throughout his conversation is that he came dangerously close to pride. Pride is especially deceptive when we are doing what is right. Exactly. I agree with that. Yeah, it a little bit borders on pride for sure, because, you know, I mean, sometimes when we don't know how to, you know, our accomplishments, how to define the source of it, and we leave people thinking that, oh, it is me, it is just me, I'm the one that made it happen. That is, you know, an aspect of pride. And yeah, I agree with you. It was, you know, a little bit close to that, you know. I mean, even if there's none, because we saw later on how God dealt with him, you know. Oh wow. Timothy said, yeah, that's what I said too. Wow. Yeah, welcome. Yes, it's exciting to have our, you know, our mothers and fathers, you know, being part of this, being part of our discussion. You know, it's just refreshing, just, you know, very, very great. Then Brandon says, but it separates us from God by making us think we are better than we really are. Then we trust our own opinions, which leads to other kinds of sin, you know. So definitely we need to be very, very careful. Very, very, very careful, you know. Um, then Damose, Pastor Damose said, "So true, so true to what? Please, we need to be clear because I mean, I'm just, I'm just playing. Yeah, thanks, Damose." Then Dr. Crown says, "Praise God for yet another glorious new day. We are most grateful, Lord Jesus." Yes, Dr. Crown, good to thanks um for your opening, consistent for your consistent opening. And by the way, Dr. Crown is one of our mothers as well. So yeah, it's awesome. Then, while it's not wrong to recount past deed, it is far better to recount God's blessings to us. Yeah, exactly. When we don't take it back to God, when we just kind of live it like, oh, I used to own this, I used to own that, I'm the bomb, I'm this, we go and, we didn't really circulate back to God. That could be very, very dangerous. And then Bradley says, reviewing past blessings of family, productivity, and meaningful service can help us get through times of suffering and remind us of God's goodness, even when the present is devastating. Exactly, exactly. Sometimes it looks like, am I crazy? Was that me that was, doing so well some months ago, and then now it looks like, no matter how I try, nothing is even working at all. I mean, so, when we recount our blessings and we circulate to God, it helps us to kind of remember, okay, yeah, it was me, and the God who did it then for me, he can do it again. So basically, now become a testimony to yourself. Then Brandon says, focusing on what God has done for us rather than on what we have done will help keep us from inadvertently falling into pride. Definitely, definitely. Then Brandon says, the young men saw me and hid themselves, and the aged/old men arose and stood up, would get up and remain standing. And then, is Job not speaking in pride here? Hard to say. I think pride is you know, where was his heart? That was the question. I mean, we can delve into that more and kind of see based on how he has been talking. But for me, the way I see it, I think it was really describing the what things look like then. I think it was in a detailed descriptive mode of what was going on. So yeah, um to convey the respect he used to have, how he was a man of honor and things like that. So just like you now having a resume now that I work in this company and I got them from a I got the revenue from $5,000 a month to $20,000 a month. I did this, I did that. It's not really pride. But at the same time too, two people can say the same thing. You know, one can be pride and one cannot be might not be pride. Even in church sometimes people come out to give testimonies. Oh yes, they give testimony just to show off, like, I've arrived now. And some people come to give, I mean, I'm hoping I would say a lot of people come out to give testimony, not be proud, but to thank God. So that's why there I'm kind of, I wouldn't actually say it's pride. I think just being descriptive of what things look like in the past. And then Brother Anthony says, so this is Job speaking. He's a fallen woman. He's a righteous man, but capable of dishonesty. And even if it's not that bad, then even if it's not that bad, okay. Yeah, yep. Okay. Trying to see Brantony. I'll skip and then Job is capable of a phenomenon that's very common among us, and that is when remembering the past, remembering only the good and forgetting particularly all of the bad. Okay. Then, especially when your current situation is largely negative and difficult. Okay, I'm trying to kind of digest that. You know, remembering the good and forgetting all the bad. Yeah, I think it all depends too, right? In terms of what is done. Sometimes, I remember there was a time that I'm just like, God, I just need some good news in my life. And so I started recounting the things that God has done in the past. I don't need any more I don't need to recount anything bad about the past because already all my situation, everything around me was already bad, So I didn't really need to say, oh, let me remember some bad and some good, because at that point I just need something good to just get me going. So I don't know whether that's what Job was doing here, to trying to just, I mean, I mean, yeah, you know, I mean, if you start with the bad, maybe you won't. But I mean, that could be an aspect of it. That could be an aspect of it. And then Pastor Mary says, "Hello, all. Hello, welcome, 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 welcome." Then Ayel, the Lord is already here. Yes, yes, welcome, Boris Rose. Then Brantley says, I'm still for Bakare. He spoke his faith. I believe his faith will work. Yeah, that's, and, I think, yeah, I just think people are just jumping at conclusion too quickly. And people forget that, even at the last minute, God can still turn things around to. So for me, that was just the question I was asking myself. Like, I mean, yeah, it means the primaries. So what? I mean, God told Abraham that he was going to be a father of nations, and the first, I don't know, 20 years or 25 years, it didn't look like that was a true whatever it is. And even he changed his name, started calling himself and his wife, father of nations, mother of, all those things. So people have, if that was today, people have like, oh, look at that crazy man. Yeah, that was, he keep deceiving himself like he'll be he's going to have father of nations. Let him have one first. That one is the primary. If you are talking about election, that will lead to, if you don't have one child now, like how can you have. So what's it called? I just use as an example, like based on how a lot of times we look at life. Any small thing, we quickly say, oh yeah, he missed it, or it's gone, forgetting that, and even if you ask yourself, I think I'm taking back my word about Abraham. Like, if he doesn't have one, like, how can he have many? Jesus didn't have any child. Paul didn't have any child. But today we still call them, fathers, I mean, as in fathers in the faith. We call, like, so even if there's no child for Abraham, let's not limit God to, the process of that men followed is the one that God will follow. Let's not limit God to that. Abraham might not even have a child, and he will still be a father of nations because God has said it. He will still be. He might not have any child, whether it's Isaac or Ishmael or no child, and he will still be father of nations. Just something that came to my mind. I have to take that back because a lot of times God gives us a word, and we shape that word based on human processes, human timing, human ways of doing things. Oh, God told me, what's it called? I'm getting a job. So because of that, I'm going to a job fair. Oh, the first job fair I go, they said no. God, why now? If you know this job is not for me, why do you take me there? This and that. And then we start. Please, let's not make that mistake. Then, thank God for being able to join live. Yes. Thank God for having you, Barrister Rose. True. Let's not speak anyhow and boast up today. Yes. And then Dr. Crown says, yes, Dr. Crown, the best time to learn the art of navigation is not when we're in a storm, but prior to it. The questions then are, how will we cope with a job-sized problem? Have we any strategy for dealing with issues before? That's a very good one, Dr. Crown. The best time to learn, is not when you are in it, in the storm. It's before you are in it. That is the, I mean, a lot of, and a lot of the strategies that come before the issues come. You don't strategize now for, now we're in a, I mean, it happens too, but you can't have a lot of your time or a lot of percentage of time strategizing when you are inside that issue. No, you strategize before the issue comes. That's what you do. So yeah, thanks, Dr. Kran, for that. And then Bersaru says, I should go. Perspective is key. As far as your eyes can see, Genesis 13:14, we need to see as God sees. Romans 4:17. So what, how do you see? Thank you so much. I mean, I can stay on that and just chew on that all day, but my boss at Court will not allow me to do that. So, but thanks for that. That's a very, very, very nice one. Then no, 2 Corinthians 4:18. Remember the things we see are temporal, but that negotiation shall come to pass, and that possible one shall be better. Yes, exactly. You know, the things we see now, they are temporary. And I will reiterate again, like, you know, even the accomplishment that you see now, they are temporary. You know, what is permanent is that which is brewing inside you. That is the permanent, you know. Somebody taught me something. Ooh, I hope I'm not taking too much time here. But somebody taught me something like, you know, all these things, all these accomplishments, they are great, but we shouldn't get too stuck to them. That God will tell you tomorrow, like, oh, you know, go to Egypt or go to Asia or go to this, and like, no, I can't. That we should live our life in such a way that we're nomads. God can tell you now, like, get up and go to this place. And you'll be like, oh, God, I'm too busy. I can't, you know. So basically, not to be too stuck to, you know, to understand like everything we see now, they are all temporary. And a lot of times, we all see things temporary as something like, oh, that means it's not good or it's not, you know, no. It's a good thing, like, to, you know, it's not that every time like something's temporary, like, oh, it's a bad thing or whatever it is, you know. I told my children when they were very young, I told them, like, look, you're not going to remain this small forever. I will carry them, I will throw them up, I will, you know, whatever it is, I will throw them in the chair, throw them on the bed, carry them around. Ask me now. Come on, go and carry them. Maybe I can try to carry the younger one. If I'm, you know, if on a good day, maybe I'll try to lift him up, the younger one. You know. But that time I told them, like, look, I know you guys are not going to be this small, so I'm going to carry you as many times as possible now. And I never looked back and said, like, oh, I wish I carried my children more. No. I carried them, I threw them, I whatever it is I had to do. You know, when you have done something and you are like, yes, I feel peaceful about that. You know, that's exactly what it feels to me. You know, when I look back at how many times I've carried my children, you know, that these days maybe I don't carry them anymore. I put them on my neck now. That's what I can do now. And that one too, I'm doing like, okay, let's do it until get to the point where maybe you be the one carrying me on your neck. So, but where I'm going with that is like, you know, something temporary is not just something, you know, it's not just something negative, you know. It's just, you know, the ways of life, you know, the things of this world, you know, things are not meant to be permanent forever. Then Dr. Crown says, before they arise, if not, perhaps now is the time. Oh, continuation of that, you know, if not, perhaps now is the time for us to start working on it. Blessed are you when people insult you and persecute you and falsely say all kind of evils against you because of me. Then at Fidelia, wow, mommy, cool to have you on live. I know, that's so cool. We'll be honored to have you co-host, ma. Please, Tallest, please see to it. Yes, yes. That would be a nice one. That would be good. Then Lady K says hello, Lady K. Welcome. And then at Rosemary Eton, amen. Yes. We say amen to that, and we seal it. Yes, let's go to the next. We have 2 more chapters, and I know we spend a lot of time on the first chapter, so I can't guarantee you that the next few chapters will be quick, but we'll see. We're going to Job 30 now. Job 30. Even my phone is like, let me go to sleep. It has gone to sleep. Like, this man has been talking since. So Job 30. Job 30.
Chapter 30. The pain never lets up, but no longer. Now, from the butt of their jokes, young ruffians, whippersnappers, why, I considered their fathers mere inexperienced pups. But they are worse than dogs, good for nothing, stray, mangy animals. Half-starved, scavenging the back alleys, howling at the moon. Homeless gutter snipes, chewing on old bones and licking old tin cans. Outcasts from the community, cursed as dangerous delinquents. Nobody would put up with them. They were driven from the neighborhood. You could hear them out there at the edge of town, yelping and barking, huddled in junkyards. A gang of beggars and no-names, thrown out on their ears. But now, I'm the one they're after, mistreating me, taunting and mocking. They abhor me. They abuse me. How dare those scoundrels? They spit in my face. Now that God has undone me and left me in a heap, they hold nothing back. Anything goes. They come at me from my blind side, trip me up, then jump on me while I'm down. They throw every kind of obstacle in my path, determined to ruin me. And no one lifts a finger to help me. They violate my broken body, trample through the rubble of my ruined life. Terrors assault me, my dignity in shreds, salvation up in smoke. And now my life drains out, as suffering seizes and grips me hard. Night gnaws at my bones. The pain never lets up. I am tied hand and foot, my neck in a noose. I twist and turn, thrown face down in the muck. I'm a muddy mess, inside and out. What did I do to deserve this? I shout for help, God, and get nothing. No answer. I stand to face you in protest, and you give me a blank stare. You've turned into my tormentor. You slap me around, knock me about. You raised me up so I was riding high, and then dropped me, and I crashed. I know you're determined to kill me, to put me 6 feet under. What did I do to deserve this? Did I ever hit anyone who was calling for help? Haven't I wept for those who live a hard life, been heartsick over the lot of the poor? But where did it get me? I expected good, but evil showed up. I looked for light, but darkness fell. My stomach's in a constant churning, never settles down. Each day confronts me with more suffering. I walk under a black cloud. The sun is gone. I stand in the congregation and protest. I howl with the jackals. I hoot with the owls. I'm black and blue all over, burning up with fever. My fiddle plays nothing but the blues. My mouth harp wails laments.
Wow. That's some powerful poem right there. Coming from from Job. I couldn't help but laugh when he said you know, he said, you raised me up so I was riding high and then dropped me and I crashed. I mean, it just brings some memories those days. When you said that, they said that, when somebody lets you down, the way they describe it when I was, in those days is like, they remove shock. It's like you're a car and then they remove shock from you and you just, you just keep going until you crash or something like that. That just reminds me of those days when something like, you just remove shock from that person, so just to depict like, when you kind of put shock on a car to hold the car down and then, but, somebody now remove the shock now and the car just go and get crashed, So that's kind of how Job was describing God. Isn't it interesting how we describe God, compare God to man sometimes. How we describe God like a mere man sometimes, and people ask those questions these days, if God is truly loving, a truly loving God will not do this, and then they will list all those things, just comparing God to man, what they want to say is like, my friend will not, just comparing God to man. It's, but forget that God has a higher, bigger ways than our way of thinking. But we limit God to, like a mere man sometimes. But You know, Message Bible was really, really crushing it here, like in terms of description of, bringing to life what things look like for Job. I mean, he said people that were even mocking him. I think to go back to what Bradley said earlier, like Job was recounting the good and not the bad. I think this is a example of him now recounting the bad. The bad. Sorry, yeah, the bad as well. You know, so but it's I think in this case it shows how bad things have gone because when non-entities in the society can in those days anyway can come. I know now everybody. I mean, like one of the things that's you know I don't let it. I don't buy into it when people start insulting leaders. Um, it's become normalized. Everybody can talk now over social media now. Everybody can say in a free world, freedom of speech, things like that. I mean, some things are just like, no, I'm not going to accept that. That is not, uh, you know, I'm not. I'm not going to normalize it for myself. It is not right. Even whether it's a leader or not. Some things that people say about, generally, talk less of a leader. So for me, I'm not normalizing it. But in case of Job now, it was even worse that time to kind of anybody to just kind of talk, but it shows how things have degraded. As I was praying for this, my mind go back to the time of David when he was going through his own issues. And this man came. I just try to, some things, my imagination goes into some things. Like I just imagine some people, that man with the big mouth that was insulting David and even hurling stones at David, like, oh, now, saying all kind of things. I just have to imagine what that looked like. And sometimes imagine some people that personally who have big mouth, and who can say anything without thinking about it and stuff like that, But yeah, so Job here was talking about, he said even their fathers will he says, why? I consider their fathers mere inexperienced pups, but they are worse than dogs, good for nothing, stray, mangy animals, half-starved, scavenging the back alleys, howling at the moon, homeless ragamuffins, chewing on old bones and licking old tin cans, outcasts from the community, cursed as dangerous delinquents. Nobody will put up with them. They were driven from the neighborhood. You could hear them out there at the edge of town, And then yeah, he keep describing them, But now I'm the one they are after, mistreating me, taunting and mocking me, So it really shows how bad things have gotten, And one thing we should know is that it's gotten bad, but one thing too is like people tend to be of course jealousy will play into it, jealousy, and then some people, how do I say it now? Some people just hate you because you are successful, Some people just like, oh, that person, they think they're better than everybody else, things like that, For example, somebody told me something like, about a pastor, who was an employer and who was mistreating his employees, And for some time, a part of me was like, wow, I can't believe a pastor will do that, A pastor will do that, a pastor will do that. Until later on, I can't remember how long later on, randomly or whatever it is, God just brought to my mind that you shouldn't just take, unless you talk to that pastor and get what happened, Sometimes people will come late to work and be like, oh, my employer is mean because, I come late to work. They expect that they will just slide by or, whatever it is, And after that time, I had to erase that thing from my mind. Like, look, I did not know what happened. Whatever I've accepted before, I undo it. This pastor, I'm not, I basically just kind of had to let myself out of those information, like reverse it because, but where I'm going with that is like people, some people already have, whether it's by jealousy or people feel like they are being mistreated or people just don't like you because you are successful. Now, Job he was in a place now where he was helpless and he knew that I can imagine some of these things. People come back like, oh, yes, look at you now. Yes, I thought you are the best, the the richest man in the world, or I thought you have all the, and all those things. It just, it just make things more complicated for Job. It just make things more complicated. A part of me was thinking like, oh, this is why it's good to be nice to everybody. But it's not about being nice to people or not. You can be the nicest person in the world. Some people will still not like you just because, things are working well for you. So, and then Job described this ordeal, how developed his broken body, how this, and then Job asked a question like, now turn to God, like, God, you, you know, remind me of this movie, Bruce Almighty, when the guy was going through his ordeal. And it's like, you are the one not doing your work. If you have done your work, I was just, when I see people doing things that um I have done, when I was tensed or when I was stressed or things like that, when I see people doing those things, and I start to see myself like, I couldn't stop but laugh because I'm like, so that is how ridiculous I look when I start blaming God or I start saying that, oh, I can't believe that God is, God will not care about me, or I can't believe that, things like that, So, but that's what Job was doing here. He was laying a lot of allegations on God, so many, you know, like the one that I started with, where he said, like, you raised me up and then you drove me to crash, Um, even says, I know you are determined to kill me, to put me 6 feet under. Isn't that ridiculous? And that's how ridiculous it want to be for us. When we're going through issues and devil brings something to us and be like, oh, I can't believe God will do that to you. Or when people bring those ideas to you and people start telling you like, oh, I thought you started believing God. That is how ridiculous it should look to us, But like Dr. Crown says that let's not, those are things we should buy right now. Like in terms of some things we should make it ridiculous now. Because when you are there and you start like, oh, yeah, that is ridiculous. You don't, it is what you have prepared your mind for that you can do, when you are there. So, it sounds so like very like, what? Did Job just say that? Oh no, Job, things like that. I mean, so and then he was asking, what did I do to deserve this? And then, did I ever eat anyone who was calling for help? Haven't I done this? I mean, I expect good, but evil show up. I look for light, but darkness fell. My stomach's in a constant churning. Like, he described it, to the end. He says, I walk under a black cloud. The sun is gone. Um, even that one is not true, Under a, the sun is gone, The sun is gone for only, depending on the season of the year. Let's say 12 hours in a day, or maybe 15 hours in some seasons. But it's not gone. If you look at some of the things that, if you really think deep, some of the things we do, like, but that's not true. The sun is not, it can be under a black cloud. It might be for some hours, but it's not, well, I know there are some almost, don't let me say abnormal places, but there's some places on earth where, they have sun for 24/7 in some seasons of the year. But still, even those places, when the sun happens 24/7, other times of the year, they have the sun also 24/7. There is no darkness, in some seasons. Some seasons, they have 100% darkness. I mean, so no matter how we twist it or we look at it, the sun is not gone. It might not be there temporarily. It might not be there. I mean, for a temporary moment, but it's not like it's gone. It's not gone permanently. Then he says, I stand in the congregation and protest. I howl with the jackals. I hoot with the owls. That is the description he gave to people. Those people he called ragamuffins, and he said the owl like whatever it is, But now that is what himself is doing. That's the way he's describing himself, to show you how bad or how terrible things have gone for him, And yeah, that's all I will stay there for that chapter. And then for the comments, oh, we will have one comment. Wow. And then Barsaru says at Shogo in 2 Samuel 16. That was Shimei. Yes. Excuse me. Insisting on stoning David when he ran away from Absalom. Exactly. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Exactly. That was the passage I was trying to remember. Then we're going to go to Job 31. And that's the last verse. Sorry, last chapter for today.
Chapter 31. What can I expect from God? I made a solemn pact with myself, never to undress a girl with my eyes. So what can I expect from God? What do I deserve from God Almighty above? Isn't calamity reserved for the wicked? Isn't disaster supposed to strike those who do wrong? Isn't God looking, observing how I live? Doesn't he mark every step I take? Have I walked hand in hand with falsehood or hung out in the company of deceit? Weigh me on a set of honest scales, so God has proof of my integrity. If I've strayed off the straight and narrow, wanted things I had no right to, messed around with sin, go ahead then, give my portion to someone who deserves it. If I've let myself be seduced by a woman and conspired to go to bed with her, fine, my wife has every right to go ahead and sleep with anyone she wants to. For disgusting behavior like that, I deserve the worst punishment you could hand out. Adultery is a fire that burns the house down. I wouldn't expect anything I count dear to survive it. Have I ever been unfair to my employees when they brought a complaint to me? What then will I do when God confronts me? When God examines my books, what can I say? Didn't the same God who made me make them? Aren't we all made of the same stuff, equals before God? Have I ignored the needs of the poor, turned my back on the indigent, taken care of my own needs, and fed my own face while they languished? Wasn't my home always open to them? Weren't they always welcome at my table? Have I ever left a poor family shivering in the cold when they had no warm clothes? Didn't the poor bless me when they saw me coming, knowing I'd brought coats from my closet? If I've ever used my strength and influence to take advantage of the unfortunate, go ahead, break both my arms, cut off all my fingers. The fear of God has kept me from these things. How else could I ever face him? If only someone would give me a hearing. Did I set my heart on making big money or worship at the bank? Did I boast about my wealth, show off because I was well off? Was I ever so awed by the sun's brilliance and moved by the sun's beauty that I let myself become seduced by them and worshiped them on the sly? If so, I would deserve the worst of punishments, for I would be betraying God himself. Did I ever crow over my enemy's ruin or gloat over my rival's bad luck? No, I never said a word of detraction, never cursed them, even under my breath. Didn't those who work for me say, he fed us well, there were always second helpings? And no stranger ever had to spend a night in the street. My doors were always open to travelers. Did I hide my sin the way Adam did, or conceal my guilt behind closed doors? Because I was afraid what people would say, fearing the gossip of the neighbors so much that I turned myself into a recluse? You know good and well that I didn't. Oh, if only someone would give me a hearing. I've signed my name to my defense. Let the Almighty One answer. I want to see my indictment in writing. Anyone's welcome to read my defense. I'll write it on a poster and carry it around town. I'm prepared to account for every move I've ever made to anyone and everyone, prince or pauper. If the very ground that I farm accuses me, if even the furrows fill with tears from my abuse, if I've ever raped the earth for my own profit or dispossessed its rightful owners, then curse it with thistles instead of wheat. Curse it with weeds instead of barley. The words of Job to his 3 friends were finished.
Yeah, this is it's getting even more interesting because Job is now I think getting us to say like, hey, I've been an upright man, but is that really the case? Is that because basically everything right now is defending himself right now, which I mean, I won't say it's bad in itself, but for you to say like you can account for every move to say like, yeah, every move, I've never done this, I've never done that. I think, yeah, it's kind of getting there. you know, what's it called? So yeah, Job is basically defending himself, and I believe it's a mindset where we've come from, and it's something I struggle with a lot as well. And God taught me a lot. I've had seasons where something happened, and I'll be like, "Oh, is that sin I committed 2 weeks ago? Now I'm paying for it. Now I'm paying for the consequence." And then something happened again. You know, oh yeah, no, I committed that one big sin. Forgetting that if God has to punish us for every sin, you know, I mean, I will have, a million and one calamities to deal with every day, But like, oh yeah, those ones are small sins. Is that big one committed that caused this thing now? That is why. And we're wrong. We've been sold some worldly ideologies, that I know people are going to ask, like, okay, so are you saying there are no consequence for sin? you know, yes, there is consequence for sin. But guess what? The price has been paid. The price has been paid. There are consequences. There is consequence of that, you know. And a good example of that, if it's still not clear, if it doesn't make sense, is that, in Egypt, there was a curse on the land, or let me say, yeah, there was a judgment that was supposed to come on the land, and it's this judgment does not discriminate. It's supposed to come on everybody on the land. That was a judgment, but guess what? The price was paid. A lamb, a goat, whatever it is, was slaughtered, and the blood, a sign of the blood, was put at the entrance of those who knows what to do. And people will look at them and be like, "Duh, what are you doing?" But just by that blood, the what's it called? The judgment that have come on them, on the Israelites, it didn't come on them. It only came on the Egyptians. So the same thing, when we're trying to account for our sin and we're trying to say like, oh yeah, the consequence of this sin, it is finished, paid in full. Oh, then are you saying then that what's it called? We should go and be sinning? No, we're not saying that. But where am I going with this? Where am I trying to get? What got us to this area is that Job is trying to in fact he's even bold about it, but he's trying to use his works to justify himself. And that is not, our work cannot be good enough to justify us. Unfortunately, it cannot. It is not good enough to justify us. What you think is good, you go and you give alms to the poor. If God comes and scrutinize what you did, God can say like, yeah, you did it, but the timing was wrong. Yeah, you did it, but you didn't do it enough. Yeah, you did it. If God scrutinized it, no, David said like, if God is counting if God is counting I forgot that word, but who will stand? Who will stand? If God start going and start picking, all these seemingly good things that we think we do, we cannot stand. Just like now, I have some specific instruction now for my children now, and they to them, what's the big deal? But sometimes some of this thing that we do, We think like, oh, we've done it. Ah, yes, we did it. And there's nothing, I'm not saying, I'm not trying to put blame on us, But where I'm just trying to go is like, sometimes we kind of try to use our works to justify ourselves. But our works cannot get us anywhere. Sorry to say, but works alone cannot get us anywhere. It is faith that gets us. It is faith. So Job is trying to use that to kind of come like, yeah, I've been a good guy. So why is this happening to me? And that's something we should remember. It's not about what we did. That's not why we get that promotion. I'm not saying like you shouldn't give your best to your employer now, or do your best at what you did. But it's not just about that. It's not just about that. So a lot of times we struggle to find that balance, because even faith without works is dead too. So, I just won't say like, oh, let's throw works out of the window. Faith still takes works. So you cannot just say, I have faith, there's no works. No, you can't do that. They go together. At the same time, you can't say I have works. I mean, you can say I have works, but there's no faith in it. Like, sorry. So Job, some of the ideology that was then, the same ideology we have now. Like we have now, people will be like, oh yeah, something bad happens to them. Oh yeah, because of their sin. That man born blind. Disciple went to Jesus and be like, that man was born blind. We know that, okay, when he was born, he just came to the world. He couldn't have committed any sin yet. So it must be his parents that committed that sin. We always try to find something or someone. And Jesus said, no, it's not. Was just saying that his parents didn't commit any sin? No, Jesus wasn't saying that. But that blindness is not because it's not because of the sin of the parents. It's so that God will be glorified. Only if we can see the things we are going through now. I'm saying this to myself. People will tell you like, oh, you need to pray more. And nothing is wrong with praying more. You need to fast more. Nothing is wrong with fasting more. But if you are sitting down there thinking that, oh, my fast is what, and Jesus said it, well, that's where we, sometimes all these things come about in the Bible, because just like these things cannot happen without fasting and prayer, But we will not make that fasting and prayer about us. I've done this. I've prayed. Yes, I've, that's where we miss it. That is where we miss it. Because, you know what? God is not, if God has to wait for us to fast and pray before He get things done for us, I'm telling you, only a few people will be blessed in this world. Only a very, 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 maybe even none. Because, even those fasting, we could just miss one thing, and that fasting might not even be accepted by God. So we're trying to go by works about, oh, I've done this, I've done that. We need to rethink it and know that it's, it goes beyond works by itself. But works mixed with faith is what produces great results. But where I want to stop here, I started from the back, Job recounting, but, the first verse really, really stood out to me. I've seen this verse a lot of time, but God revealed to me a new way now. And, thank God for cover to cover. This is what we just want to, teach based on what we knew from things ago, like new as, as new inspirations come, we can share them, He said, I made a solemn pact with myself, never to undress a girl with my eyes. Two main things come to me in that thing. Job has made a pact, a commitment. A pact is like an agreement. And I think it goes back to what Pastor Crown said earlier in terms of strategizing before the issue came, It's not when, whatever you're not decided on, it's not when you now see a girl like, oh, I'm not going to, It is the agreement you have made in the past, the things you have decided that, that is not, that is not who I am. I'm not the kind of person that will go around and start, no. It is something you have made you know, you know. So the question I want to ask us, like, what commitment have you made? What commitment, what pacts have you made? Either with yourself, with God, with your, but what's, a lot of time, a lot of us, we're so focused on the fact that, if I made that commitment, I might miss it. So I'm not going to make any commitment at all. I will just live each day as it come. Yeah, that's a good thing. But even David, he said that I will not give to God what cost me nothing. That's that is somebody who has made, that is an agreement that he has made with himself. And today, yesterday I had to go back to myself and I had to like, what agreement have I made with myself? I remember like one thing I told myself is that God, whatever it would take, you know, whatever it would take, that's the agreement I made with myself. I said, whatever it would take to, you know, to accomplish what you have, why you have put me on this earth, I would do it. And I remember this, I had to go back and said, anything within your within your guidelines, within your will, I'm not just going to do anything stupid, you know. So we need to understand that, we need to make some agreements with ourselves. We need to make some pact, like, these are things I will never do. This is who I am. And in most cases, we do it in times like this. We do it, not when we are in the, what is my agreement again? Your mind is not even in the right place to do those things. That's why sometimes when people make some agreement, for example, now, if you put up a gun to somebody and say like, make this agreement, and the person make that agreement, if it gets to the court of law, that agreement is not valid because that agreement was made under duress. It was made almost like, it was knee-jerk. The person was not thinking straight. The person was not, so it was made under duress. So anything you make under, like, where you are, there is commotion, there is this and that, those things are usually not, they are not. But at the same time, too, there are times that, and that's why we pray for the peace of God. When you're in that peace, when no matter how the commission going, you can, it was a song that says, like, the world, I can't remember how the song goes, but it's basically just describing like, there could be a million things going on in the world, but you can have that inner peace with yourself, So when you have that inner peace, yeah, you can you can be in a place to make that agreement as well. In fact, sometimes when you're in that you make some declaration when you're in that, as long as you have that inner peace, you're not under duress, you're not under stress. You can make some. So I'm not trying to say necessarily like, the only time you can make an agreement or commitment to God or to yourself is only when everything around you is perfect. That's not what I'm trying to say. Things can be going the other way. What is important is the state you are in. What is, what is inside you. That is what matters most. So he made a pact, made a commitment, he made an agreement with himself. I leave us with this question: what kind of agreement have you made with yourself? Or what kind of agreement do you need to make with yourself that you can stand by 100 years from now if Jesus tarries? And then he now said again, like, I made a pact with myself never to undress a girl with my eyes. I'm like, wow, that is so profound. These are things, what's it called? These are things that we take for granted, in the sense that these are very powerful, how do I say it now? Like, very profound principles, So I was like, yeah, if you can use your eyes, to undress a girl, that means you can use your eyes to do a lot of things. And you have that power, you're in the driver's seat. The same way you can use your eyes. But I think a lot of times these things, we condition ourselves to the world we live in and be like, we live in a dark world. So it's easier to undress a girl with my eyes uh than to see myself, preaching to 200 people and they giving their life to Christ. It is not. The same strength, the same strength, the same stress, or whatever it is it takes to do negative is what it takes to do the positive. It is this, it doesn't take more, or it doesn't take to say like to say like this one takes more or that one takes yes or take less. It is let's not deceive ourselves with those things. Let's not deceive ourselves with those things. Let's get ourselves out of that. Like the same amount of whatever it is, believing or for the negative is the same it takes for the positive as well. For us, it's just now other things are now coming to it is like, which environment do we put ourselves? Which environment, what are the things that helps us to get there quickly? Because if you're in a club, I'm not going to lie to you, if you're in a club, it's much easier for you to undress a girl in a club. I can guarantee you that. Because, they're just a conveying or convening of, half naked girls in there. So you don't go to a club and be like, oh yeah, I've made up I've made up a pact. I will not. No. And even if you have to go, you know that okay, there's a reason why I'm going here, and this is, but not the one that you go every time and you go and do what everybody else is doing, and you're like, oh, I've made a pact with myself that I'm not just a girl. That is where you see pacts being broken. So let's not, what I'm just trying to bring up here is like, we have the power to do a lot of things through our imagination. And that's what I did yesterday. As I was going through this, I'm just like, you know what? I've heard this several times. I know I've done it before. I just pick up my pen. I start writing what I see. I start writing it. What I see. I started painting that picture. In fact, I was getting more detailed. And one time I was almost going astray, and God put him back in. Like, no, don't bog yourself down with you can say like, oh, I see this, so I can do this, and I can do that, and I can. And they say, no. You are going to come back now. Just put down what you see. That's all you need to do. What do you see? That's all. Not yeah, I'm saying this so that I can. That's what God gave me. I'm not saying like some people might need to go into details into what they see. So, what do you see? That's my question for us. And what kind of agreements have you made with yourself? Sometimes to them, unknowingly, we might have made some negative agreements with ourselves. Sometimes you're like, in fact, when I see that person, I'm going to blow up, Yeah, you have made an agreement with yourself. And of course, when you see the person, you do more than blow up. So, like I said, agreements can be cancelled. Some agreements we need to cancel. Some agreements we need to upgrade. And some agreements we need to basically just make because we have not made them already. So, yeah. And start seeing what you need to see, the right things. But yeah, I spend a lot of time here. It's important to have the right, the right mindset, the right environment, and to see the right things. So that's all I'm going to say for now. That's all I'm going to say for now. I'm going to go to the comments, and then we'll be done with today's Um, so Dr. Kran says character and consistency. Job affirms his promise. Job 31 to 40. One of the beautiful facts of the book of Job is that it displays how a man can be very human and yet very heavenly at the same time. Job feels of all the emotions of a man who has endured great loss. He became angry, depressed, and anxious, and declared his feelings openly at the same time. He never drifts from his strong character. He remains consistent through everything. The moment it appears he will curse God and give up on him, he affirms his promise to be faithful, even when he doesn't understand what is happening. Job pledges to maintain his integrity despite his circumstances. Yeah, I think it's really um what I'm looking for. It's really depressed and declares. Yeah, okay, yeah, declaring our feelings. It's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. In fact, David did it a lot of times. Moses did it as well. Yeah, I think for me the difference is who are we declaring it to. I think that's the when we start going to the world and we start making a mockery of God, that I can't believe God did this to me. This that one is not done. Things like that. We're making a mockery of God in those cases. So take your grudge to God. You don't need to you don't need to you know expose God as if he's not a good God to the world. Number one, he doesn't speak well. He doesn't. I mean, nobody will expose their dirty laundry in the open. It's not done. Number two, some people might lose their faith through that. Some people will be like, "Oh, that person, I thought they serve God. So if they are complaining and things are not working for them, then I don't want to serve that God." So you don't need to just take your grievance to God. God, in fact, God can handle it. God can handle it. So and they want me to ask, how could Job be so committed and consistent? That's that question. Whoa. Okay. Let me come back to that question. Lady K says it's not by works of righteousness, but by his grace alone. Exactly. And then if he regards iniquity, who can stand? Thank you. Yes. Who can stand? Exactly. That was what I was looking for. Thank you, Lady K. Back to Dr. Crown's question. One may ask, how could Job be so committed and consistent? Okay. Answer: we should note here that Job's type of commitment is a crucial key to leadership. Yes. Thank you so much. The leadership aspect of this. Yes. I just get excited anytime I say anything about leadership. I believe this season, especially God, in the kingdom, we need a lot of leaders. And for me, myself, I've been challenging myself, like, some of the things not right, that are not working well in my life, could it be as a result of my lack of my lack of leadership character, or could it, like, I've been asking myself those questions. So right now I'm getting more into understanding things or seeing things from the leadership perspective, and that's why, like I said, for me to blame a leader right now, or even for the rest of my life, is a thing that I will not see myself doing, because I know it's not easy being a leader. But a lot of people don't understand that, So, Dr. Crown says we should note that Job's type of commitment is a crucial key to leadership. Here are the reasons. As leaders, we must be visionary, but we may not see everything in the future. Instead of us pretending to be in control, as leaders, we must model being under control. Wow, as leaders, we must model humanity and identify with the limitations of followers. As leaders, we must model an anchored life, living from character, not emotions. Finally, while as leaders we don't know what tomorrow holds, we know who holds tomorrow. You know, I think that's very crucial. You know, there was one of my I do this series that I do, a father's love, father and son, just having regular discussions, and I make animations out of it, and I put it online. One of the series I did was on you know everybody is accountable to somebody. you know Everybody is accountable to somebody. And then when it goes, maybe it goes to the head of the country, and the son was asking the father, like, so yeah, it has to stop somewhere. And I'm like, yeah, the head of the country actually is accountable to God. That is where you know so whether they know it or not, they are accountable to God. And and we all, as well as leaders, we are accountable to God as well as leaders. So where I'm going with that is, like, Dr. Crown says here that as leaders we don't know what tomorrow, but we know who holds tomorrow. And then yeah, so having that, somebody who holds tomorrow, having that understanding, like, look, I'm here, as a leader, but there is somebody that I'm accountable to. There's somebody that I'm accountable to. Like, all of us might not see now, but I have that accountable. So whatever I need to do, I have to do it right. Not because I don't want government to catch me, or I don't want, but because I know that I'm accountable to God. And that's the way we should live our life. Because we're all leaders, whether we like it or not. We're all leaders in different aspects, in different areas. And for me, when I want to blame a leader now, I look back at myself like, oh, have I done what God told me to do? No, I've not. Okay, so shut up. I just, because each time you point at somebody, you point a finger at somebody, there is 4 or 3, whatever it is, pointing back at you. So I've learned that. So Dr. Crown, thanks for those leadership nuggets. Nancy says we need our leadership, whether it's cover to cover, or we need our leadership conference or seminar or webinar, whatever it is we're going to call it. We need something on leadership. Then song request: be magnified, O Lord, you are highly exalted. Be magnified, O Lord. Dun, dun, dun. You are highly exalted. Dun, 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 dun. There is nothing you can't do. Oh, oh Lord, my eyes are on you. Be magnified. Oh Lord, be magnified. I know I have my music teachers here. I hope they can give me some credit for the extra music I put in there. So what's it called? Yeah, then Dr. Crown says, song request: why should my heart be worried? Why should the sparrow fall? Why should my heart be troubled? I sing because I'm happy. I sing because I'm free. His eyes is on the sparrow, and I know he watches me. Yes, that's a good song to conclude this wonderful session of Cover to Cover. You might not understand why. You might not know what's going on. It might not make sense to you. People might even tell you to give up. Everything around you might scream, just cause God and die. Everything around you because it doesn't look good, Yes, they might look good to you. It might look like, but his eyes on the sparrow. If he watches the birds, which I mean, these birds, they are when they die, that is it. They have no spirits, they have no, all those things that we have. If you can watches those birds, even the flowers, how much more you and I? How much more? There's a song request for myself now, but I can't remember the song. It says, what a friend we have in Jesus. What a friend we have in Jesus. But there's a part of it that says like, what like, I'm trying to think now. Oh, what's in your phone? Oh, what? Oh, because we simply don't carry some stress we take ourselves through that we don't need to. I can't remember I wish I remember this what is of that song now, but some things, a lot of things we carry on ourselves that after you look back, you're like, I can't believe I stress myself so much because of that. So we don't need to, I look at, when I was in primary 4, primary 5, grade 4, grade 5, let me put it. When things look those times it looks like, this subject is the hardest subject. I look back now and I'm like, I can't believe there's a time I was thinking that this subject is the end of the world. So the same way too, whatever you are going through now, maybe tomorrow, maybe yesterday, maybe next week, maybe next month, you're going to look back and be like, that is even nothing. So step into that next month or next year and start seeing whatever it is as nothing right now. That is faith. That is faith. And you have the power to do that. Just like David said, Job said, he made a commitment with his eyes not to undress somebody. Same way too, you can, with your imagination, with your eyes, you can go into the future and look back at this, whatever you're going through now, and be like, that is nothing. Because that's what you're going to say anyway. I'm telling you, I can guarantee you, you are going to say it. But instead of waiting 10 weeks before you get there, you can step in there now and say that this thing is nothing. And it is nothing once you make up your mind that it is. Thank you so much. We thank God for this wonderful time. I will go through the rest of the comments and we'll end from there. It says, Dr. Quran says, glory, hallelujah. Yeah. And the lady K says, clap, clap. Hey, is that clap? Oh, that looks like yam. Oh, sorry. I don't know what that emoji is. It looks like, I thought it was clapping, but it looks like yam, like yam tuber. Lady K, if you're sending me yam tuber, please. I don't take it. I only take it, the physical yam. That's what I take. Then Pastor Mary said, good singing. I like the creative instrument. Oh, thank you. Yes. And then Dr. Kran says, at Minister Shago, we are always willing to do what he bids us do. Yes. And we thank God for that. I've been so blessed by your leadership perspective when we are going through a lot of these passages. I've been so blessed by that for sure. And then Lady K says, full credit for the singing and instrument played. Yay! Hey, whoa. Thank you. Then Dr. Crown says, thanks for singing with such sonorous voice. You got this. Yay! We thank God. What's it called now? Pastor Mary says something in the line of needless stress to bear. Exactly. Thanks for that. It's so needless. We put all this in ourselves and then we discover that we don't need it. Like it's nothing. One thing I learned. Sorry, I'm releasing a lot of things now, but these are things that God has revealed to me. Bible says that with God, all things. Nothing is impossible. Yes, Nothing is impossible, or all things are possible. And what God gave me is like anything that is proving itself to be impossible, it is nothing, because nothing is impossible. So anything that's becoming an impossibility is nothing. And that's where we should see all these impossibilities in our lives. They are nothing. They are. Then Dr. Crown says, oh, what needless pain we bear. Thank you. When we do not carry everything to God in prayer. Exactly. All we need to do is just to go to God in prayer and just leave it at his feet. And then Lady K says, what a friend we have in Jesus. All our sins and grace to bear. Thank you so much. And what a privilege to carry everything to God in prayer. Oh, what peace we often forfeit. Oh, what needless pain we bear. I'm going to sing that. I want to read it first. All because we do not carry everything to God in prayer. Are we trials and temptations? Is there trouble anywhere? We should never be discouraged. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Then can we find a friend so faithful who will all our sorrows share? Jesus knows our every weakness. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Yes. And then Pastor Mary says, Lord, it claps. Sorry, no yam tubers. Oh no. That is not fair. Oh, I was hoping for those yams, but I'll accept the claps too. Yam tuber, it claps. So I'm going to close with this, except the other comments, with this song. What a friend we have in Jesus. All our sins and griefs to bear. What a privilege to carry everything to God in prayer. Oh, what peace we often forfeit. Oh, what needless pain we bear. All because we do not carry everything to God in prayer. With trials and temptations, is there trouble anywhere? We should never be discouraged. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Oh, can we find a friend so faithful, who will all our sorrows share? Jesus knows our every weakness. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Thank you so much, everybody. That's the ending of today's session of Quartz Cover. We thank God for this wonderful time. We thank God because we've been blessed, and we've been blessed so much by His word, and my prayer is that we'll go and be a doer of this word. God bless you, and have a great rest of the day. Bye bye.